Hello folks and welcome back to the Italian garden. The time is now to plant onions. Onions are on the mind. We're about at last frost or about 2 weeks from last frost. And so onions should do fairly well as long as they're a little bit on the more mature side to be planting out. Now I start all of my onions from seed in what's called the bulk method of planting. These look a little bit punky because they've been in this tray for a while, so they need to really go out, but they are a little bit on the more mature side. Let me slide some out here. And you just want to gently pull and kind of wiggle the roots out. And you can see here that they got a pretty good root system on them. And to plant these out, all you're going to want to do is shake the dirt off, get yourself your onion seed right there, and then put that seedling in the soil. Let me show you how you do it. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay up to date on all things gardening. With onions, you're going to have a difference between a long day and a short day onion. These are long day onions. These are the Pomara onion, and so they are a long day onion. Now, if you're up north, you're going to be growing a long day onion, which means if you have about 14 hours of daylight is what it requires for the onion to bulb. Now, if you are in the south, you're going to be growing a short day onion. Short day onions require typically anywhere from 9 to 8 hours of sunlight in a day to grow. Now, does that mean you can grow short day onions up north? Well, yeah, you could, but the bulb might not develop as quickly, or it might bolt. If you grow a long day onion down south, it probably won't bulb up, and it will actually take 2 seasons in which it would probably just go to seed. So you're going to want to choose an onion for your area properly. Just so that's clear, that's kind of your onion basics there. When it comes to onion planting, you're going to want to dig out kind of an area for your onion to grow in. So you're going to want to kind of scoop the soil away. I'm growing in a greenhouse weed fabric. So my method of planting in a row style is a little bit different than most people's. But I typically will peel the soil away from the area that I'm going to be planting my bulbing onion in. And then I'll use some potting compost to fill up the rest of the hole. So it you end up with a bit of a mound around the actual onion itself, which allows for it to push some of that soil away and bulb up properly. Now, if you're planting in a bed, you're just going to scoop that soil away from it and then cover the onion back up. You have a lot looser soil in a bed and more airy, so it's easier to do that. So you're going to want to use some bone meal. You're going to want to use about half a tablespoon per planting hole, and you're gonna sprinkle that in. I'm gonna put some on the top of this one since I didn't do that one. But you're gonna sprinkle some of that in right in your planting hole. About a half to a quarter teaspoon of planting hole. This will give a little bit of nitrogen, but it also will and if you can do a little bit extra, it's not going to really hurt the plant. But that's going to give it a little bit of nitrogen and a little bit of potassium used for growth. Next thing we're going to do is blood meal, which is a 1200 on the nutrient scale. So that's just nitrogen. That's going to help with leafy growth. And you're going to want to do about the same ratio, about a quarter teaspoon per planting hole. Or sorry, quarter tablespoon per planting hole. Now this is an organic fertilizer, so with organic fertilizers, they're going to break down slowly over time and give some food to the plant. Now, I also have a pretty decent soil here in terms of how much planting I have ability in it, how much organic matter. I know that my organic matter is up. I've already added some in it, so I don't need to add quite as much as some. There might be some people that might need to add quite a bit more fertilizer to get results, but I've added horse manure compost to this already, and then I'm planting directly in a mixed horse manure compost that is pretty light in its NPK rating because I've had it tested. So we got that. So we're just going to drop them in the hole, put the root ball right over top of it, not push down too hard. You don't want a lot of compaction with onions. Just let them kind of loosely sit on the soil. These are all tangled in a mess of roots here. So I usually will pick some of the better ones out and put those in first, just because I have a pretty wide variety. It's a good. That's the reason why we do this bulk seeding method, is because you get a lot of healthy onions. So I always pick and choose through the really healthy ones. And if I have some extras that are a little smaller, I'll plant them and sneak them into some areas next to some tomatoes or other areas as planting companions. But we're gonna go down this whole row. We're gonna plant all these, and I'll show you the result when we're done. And that right there is the whole row completed here. Right about here, we switch from the yellow Primara onions this way, and then over this way, we got the red zebra shallot over there. But that's all it takes. We got it all planted out. Spacing is about 8 to 6 inches between, and in between each plant this way too. So that will give you a good, nice bulbing onion. And that's it, folks. That's all it takes to grow onions. Super simple. You just need a proper amount of light, and that's really all it takes. Is just a proper amount of light. You're going to need that for a long day onion. You're going to need 14 hours at least of sunlight a day. You can get away with 12. But and for a short day onion, you're going to need at least 8 to 10 hours a day of sunlight. And so that's all it really takes. You can plant them out really anywhere in your yard as long as you get that requirement of the light. You missed, unfortunately, me starting these seeds, which I wish I would have been able to film that, but unfortunately I didn't. I had already started them and then said, oh shoot, I didn't film my onion starting. But you're going to want to start those in January, typically January to February. I started mine this year a little bit later than I normally do. I started them like mid to end February, like February 20th is when I started my onions. I think I put down on my app, but they take at least that long to grow. So you're going to need to take at least enough time and set aside enough amount of that early growing period under lights to really get them to establish and start to grow a big enough plant. Now you could grow from sets, and some people do have success growing from sets, which is a set is basically a little tiny bulb. It's a bulb that somebody had let grow to a small onion, and then they chopped off the top of it, put it into a storage area, and then kept it stored at a certain temperature and without any light, and to keep it from growing. And then you basically come and pick it up and then put it in the ground, and then it'll start growing again. But sets for me have never really worked. They've always bolted super fast. So bolting means you got flower heads that come up and it goes to seed. And so they've always bolted quickly, and that bolting results in no bulbing. When the onion wants to seed, it's basically saying to the whole plant that I'm not going to store any energy. I'm going to put all the energy I get from the sun and water to essentially making flowers to go to seed to make more onions. And so basically, when that happens, you're not going to get a good onion bulb that we use to cook with. And so you're going to want to start from seed, typically, is what I find, to get a really decent bulbing onion, because it's a first-year onion. First-year onions are going to do one thing, and that one thing is they're going to store energy from the sun, and they're going to store it down in the bulb to basically overwinter so that they can produce seed the next year. And so that's why you get way better bulbs on seeds, in my opinion. If you had success growing from sets, that's perfectly fine, but I've always tried them. I've tried them several years and they just never worked out. And always my seed onions grew 3 times the size. You'll get onions that are like this big on those yellow Primaras. And that's just, that's what you want to have for your dinner plate. So, all right, guys, that's all there is to growing onions. I'm going to sign off here. It's been nice talking with you, friends, and we'll see you next time. Remember, grow what you love what you grow, and like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time.